The auditory-verbal philosophy is a logical set of guiding principles. Auditory-verbal results in the realization that young children with hearing loss can be educated to use even minimal amounts of residual hearing. This use allows these children to learn to listen, to process verbal language, and to speak. The auditory-verbal philosophy supports the basic human right that children with all degrees of hearing loss, even a profound loss, deserve an opportunity to develop the ability to learn to listen and to use verbal communication within their own family and community. Natural Communication, Inc., NCI, is an organization that exists for the benefit of children who are hearing impaired and their families. Through NCI, parents and families of children who are hearing impaired meet regularly to share support, information, and experiences. NCI embraces the auditory-verbal practice to teach the hearing impaired and therefore maximizes the potential for the development of language and speech ability. This videotape has been developed to show children in our group at different stages of speech and language development, all who have used the auditory-verbal approach.
I think we should talk about how hard work we did to get to this level. Like, did you guys do lessons? A lot, yeah. Well, we should talk about that. Like my mom said, the baby doesn't come home and start talking right away.
The system of principles of auditory-verbal practice are, first, supporting and promoting programs for the early detection and identification of hearing loss and the auditory management of infants, toddlers, and children so identified. Second, providing the earliest and most appropriate use of medical and amplification technology to achieve the maximum benefits available. Colin is 15 months old, diagnosed at newborn screening, and at 2 months, profound. Hearing aids at 4 months, Phonak PPCP2. Auditory-verbal therapy started at 4 months.
Oh, the wonderful sounds Mr. Brown can do. He can sound like a cow. He can go moo moo. He can sound like a bee. Mr. Brown can buzz. How about you? Can you buzz, buzz? Buzz, buzz. He can sound like a cork. Pop, 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 pop. He can sound like horse feet. Clap, clap, clap. He can sound like a rooster. Cock-a-doodle-doo.
Your children, having the 2 children with hearing loss, now your children use different technologies, don't they?
Yes, they do. Dieter has hearing aids, and he has 2 hearing, one, in both ears, and Rupert has a cochlear implant. An infant's not going to be born talking, and you have to remember that even though Dieter was 2, he wasn't, and he was aided at 2, and he caught on very quickly. He still had a long way to go because as far as hearing, he was still an infant.
Right, that listening age, at 2 years of age, his listening age was technically 0. Chris was diagnosed at 8 months of age by an astute daycare worker. She noticed that Chris wasn't turning to his name when she called him from across the room. We feel very fortunate that that worker was able to catch that, because we would have liked it had he been tested in the hospital and had early intervention services at birth. With Laura, she was tested at my insistence at 2 years of age, or at 2 months of age, and then she was aided at 4 months of age. And I feel Laura had a better opportunity to learn to listen.
Well, Rupert, when he was implanted at 18 months, we did seem to notice that, yes, he immediately seemed to benefit from the implant and from awareness of sound. And he'd hear a sound and he'd turn his head looking for it. You'd call his name and he'd start to turn to look who was calling his name. It was beneficial to us that the boys were close in age, and we were able to developmentally, they were both at the same level. They were a year apart. It seemed as they got a little older, yes, Rupert's maturity, Dieter was a little bit more mature.
Well, I noticed with Chris and Laura, Christopher, of course, was implanted late. He was implanted at the age of 8 years, and because of the auditory-verbal therapy, that he was able to take advantage of that technology. Otherwise, if he hadn't been listening already, he wouldn't have been capable of switching to the cochlear implant and using the cochlear implant.
Next, instructing primary caregivers in ways to provide maximal acoustic stimulation within meaningful contexts, and supporting the development of the most favorable auditory learning environments for the acquisition of spoken language. Hallie is 4 years, 6 months old, diagnosed at 16 months, severe to profound. Hearing aids at 18 months, Phonak PPC-P2. Auditory-verbal therapy started at 18 months. Current Technology Clarion Cochlear Implant Platinum Series. Age at implantation, 2 years.
With this, it's following directions involving critical elements. And the elements, the clues, are going to be located at the end of the sentence, which is easier to hear. And then I'm going to give her prepositional directions, and the prepositions will be in the middle of the sentence, which is harder to hear. Listening. Good job. All right, next one. The next one is a dessert. It's a dessert that has icing and candles. Can you find it? Good listening. Hallie?
Another principle, seeking to integrate listening into the child's total personality in response to the environment. Christina is 7 years, 8 months old, diagnosed at 14 months, severe to profound. Hearing aids at 15 months, Phonak PPC-P2. Auditory-verbal therapy started at 15 months. Current Technology Clarion Cochlear Implant Platinum BTE. Age at implantation, 3 years, 5 months.
So I will be an animal.
Yeah, like any animal you choose.
What would you like me to start?
Yeah.
Okay, I will be an owl.
If the owl is too down and like catch me, I'll be a rat. So you can't catch me, and I'll be in my home in the dark, so you can't catch me.
Don't you have something special that you're sitting on?
Uh-huh.
What is that?
It's my taekwondo belt.
Your taekwondo belt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do you do in taekwondo?
Well, what do I take lessons, and I take some tests.
Where are we going to go after we're done here today?
Horseback riding.
And do you wear something special when you're riding a horse?
Yeah, my boots and my helmet. A special horse helmet.
Okay. Now, I don't ride a horse, so I don't know much about horses. Mm-hmm. Do they go really fast, or?
Well, canters pretty fast, but not as fast. But
a canter?
Yeah, a canter.
What else does the horse do?
Well, it also trots and walk.
Rupert is 5 years, 4 months old, diagnosed at 13 months, profound. Hearing aids at 14 months, Phonak. Auditory-verbal therapy started at 14 months. Current Technology Clarion Cochlear Implant Platinum Series. Age at implantation, 18 months. Dieter is 6 years, 4 months old, diagnosed at 22 months, moderate severe to severe. Hearing aids at 23 months, Phonak. Auditory-verbal therapy started at 23 months, personal FM, Phonak.
Dieter, you need to look at the box and tell us what else we need in with our brownies.
Eggs, water, oil, stir it up and put it in the oven.
We need to do all that, you think? Okay, well, then I guess we better get going here, huh? What do we need?
More eggs.
More, you're right, we do. Rupert, what else should we put in our brownies?
Let me see the box.
Supporting the view that communication is a social act and seeking to improve spoken communicative interaction within the typical social dyad of infant-child with hearing loss and primary caregiver, including the use of the parents as primary models for spoken language development and implementing one-to-one teaching. Alex is 8 years, 6 months old, diagnosed post-meningitis at 8 months, profound. Hearing aids at 10 months, Phonak PPCP. Auditory-verbal therapy started at 10 months. Current Technology, Nucleus 22 cochlear implant, and Omni Petit soundfield FM. Age at implantation, 20 months.
Took red, but today I think I'm going to take yellow.
Okay.
All right. Who do you think should go first?
Me.
You'd like to go first? All right, you can go ahead.
Roll
Roll the dice.
You roll the dice.
I should roll the dice? Okay.
2.
1, 2.
Beside.
Beside. All right, I think we'll start with the house. And I'm going to say, Alex, can you put the dog beside the house? All right, good job.
2.
2.
1, 2.
Oh, now we both have 2. What are you going to tell me?
Mom, put the chicken and the cow beside each other.
Beside each other? All right, the chicken and the cow. We'll put the chicken and the cow beside each other.
Laura is 7 years, 6 months old, diagnosed at 4 months, profound corner audiogram. Hearing aids at 4 months, Phonak PPL. Auditory-verbal therapy started at 4 months. Personal FM, Comtek. Current Technology, Nucleus 22 cochlear implant, Phonak hearing aid, and Lightspeed Desktop personal FM. Age at implantation, 3 years, 6 months. Chris is 12 years, 6 months old. Diagnosed at 8 months, severe to profound. Hearing aids at 8 months, Phonak. Auditory-verbal therapy started at 8 months. Personal FM, Comtek. Current Technology, Nucleus 24 cochlear implant, AVR Extend Ear hearing aid, and Lightspeed Desktop personal FM. Age at implantation, 8 years.
I got this book from school. Chris, can you read this for me?
Okay. My name is Maxie. I ride in a taxi around New York City all day. I sit next to Jim. I belong to him. But it wasn't always this way. And what's the guy's name?
Jim.
What's the dog's?
Max.
What?
Maxie.
I ate and I ate. I cleaned the whole plate. Then Jim took a scarf of bright red. He tied it around me, so glad that he found me, and kissed me on top of my head.
Seeking to establish the child's integrated auditory system for self-monitoring of emerging speech. Using natural sequential patterns of auditory perceptual, linguistic, and cognitive stimulation to encourage the emergence of listening, speech, and language abilities.
What's the first sound in Hallie? H, good. Let me give you another one. Let's listen again. Listen. What's the first sound you hear? What's the first sound you hear? What's the first sound in monkey? What's the first sound you hear? Very good.
That's
I heard
right.
M in monkey. I hear it.
Making ongoing evaluation and prognosis of the development of listening skills an integral part of the habilitative process, and supporting the concepts of mainstreaming and integration of children with hearing loss into regular education classes to the fullest extent possible. Chris is 15 years, 10 months old, diagnosed at 2 years, 6 months, severe to profound. Hearing aids at 2 years, 9 months, Phonak PPC. Auditory-verbal therapy started at 2 years, 9 months. Personal FM, Comtek. Current Technology, Widex hearing aids with Phonak FM. Joey is 10 years old, diagnosed at 3 months, severe to profound. Hearing aids at 5 months, Phonak Superfront. Auditory-verbal therapy started at 6 months. Personal FM, Comtek. Current Technology, Phonak Claro hearing aids with Phonak Microlink.
Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Good.
Why don't you show me your FM system that you use at school?
My teacher wears this one, and I just carry it back and forth to classes.
Oh, that's cool. I have the same, similar to yours, only mine's a little different shape. and I do the same thing, carry it back and forth to different classes, and I give it to my teachers, and they either hold it like this or they just put it on the desk.
And then I got this phone thing that I can plug it into the phone, and then or into the TV, and then I can listen to it so I don't have to listen to the phone.
Oh, okay, that's awesome, man. With that?
It's a remote.
The remote? Oh, for your hearing aid?
Yeah, and it's like FM and stuff on it.
What can you do with it? How do you change it? What can you change in your hearing?
Like I can change my settings. Like if I go into a noisy place, I can go to like 2.
Oh,
so
yeah.
So it's not so loud.
Yeah, make it quieter. So
yeah.
And you can adjust the volume on that too.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit more to me how this works?
If you push, if you're watching TV, then the phone rings. If you don't want to hear the phone conversation, then you push this button so that the red shows, right around here, so that you can just keep listening to the TV.
Oh, okay. And you mean you can tap into the phone conversation whenever you want?
Yeah.
Hope you're not eavesdropping too much, but that's very interesting how that works, how you can flip over the television and phone, right?
Yeah.
Now, you have to have the phone to at least talk into, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't have to hold it by my ear.
Yeah, right.
I just have to hold it by my mouth.
Yeah, okay. That's very cool. An important time when I use my hearing aids is when we read the scorecard. I have to listen to everyone else's scorecard and make sure that they have the right number, so I can say yes, yes, yes. Otherwise, if I didn't hear them and they said I got a 5 when they really got an 8, then they would be cheating. But at least I have my hearing aids so I can understand what the other people are saying.
For summer baseball, I played pitcher, second base, sometimes in the outfield, any position.
Yeah, that's almost everything I play except I'm a pitcher, and then I'm a first baseman, and sometimes a third baseman.
For a professional, I like the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, the Cleveland Browns, yeah. Do you have any favorite baseball teams?
The Indians.
That pretty much says it all.
Stacy is 22 years old, diagnosed at 10 months, profound. Hearing aids at 10 months, Oticon. Auditory-verbal therapy started at 18 months. Personal FM, Comtek. Current Technology Clarion cochlear implant S-series and Oticon hearing aid. Age at implantation, 18 years. Vera is 20 years old. Diagnosed at 13 months, severe to profound. Hearing aids at 16 months, Bosch. Auditory-verbal therapy started at 16 months. Personal FM, Comtek. Current Technology, Nucleus 24 cochlear implant S-series and Unitron US-80 hearing aid. Age at implantation, 16 years.
Well, Stacy, ever since I started school, I've always been the only hearing impaired student in my class. Was it that way for you too?
Oh yeah, it was that way for me too. I think it helped prepare me for life. I had to learn how to socialize with people I like and people I don't like. I even had to compete on the same academic level as my classmates without any special treatment. Do you feel the same way?
Yes, I do. Do people ever ask you why you don't use sign language?
Some people have asked me that question in my class. I just tell them that auditory-verbal is a way of life, and you can't just add other visual cues to it. If you do, it no longer becomes auditory-verbal, because auditory-verbal focuses on using listening abilities to their maximum potential during the critical language learning years, and if you add visual cues like sign language to it, it distracts from that goal, because less energy is focused on audition.
I always went to the local public school from kindergarten to 12th grade. I think it was the best thing my parents could have done for me because I learned to socialize and make friends. It also improved my listening skills because I had to understand what the teacher was saying. So, Stacy, what are your plans for the future?
Well, next year I'm going to Germany for 1 year on a Fulbright scholarship. So I'm going to do some research over there, and I have to go to school. And I'm looking forward to it. And after that, I'll be going to graduate school so I can get a degree in audiology.
For these children and for others who use the auditory verbal approach, the sky's the limit.